How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Hack Slash Omnibus Volume 1. Hack Slash is one of my absolute favorite horror comics, and I'm really excited to be talking about the very first Omnibus. I guess I should start off with, what is Hack Slash? Well, Hack Slash is the story of two characters, Vlad and Cassie, and they're going to be hunting slashers. The idea is that Cassie is a final girl. She survived her own horror movie where her mother came back from the dead as the school's evil lunch lady. Well, she has to deal with that trauma and also deal in the back of her mind that she might, when she dies, maybe become a slasher as well. Because in this world, slashers are a form of the undead. They're someone that comes back to life and goes on a killing spree, killing people that enjoy the fruits of life. So slashers are a very specific thing here, and there's a whole bunch of them. Well, one of the first people she meets is Vlad, this big, strong guy with the mask on, who she initially thinks is a slasher, but she quickly learns that she's wrong, and the two form a friendship. Vlad, because of his appearance, had been hidden in a basement most of his life, so a lot of stuff about culture he doesn't quite get, and we do get a bit of humor with that. Cassie and Vlad, and Cassie's showing him the world, and all the while they're hunting down a bunch of different slashers. It's, pretty episodic, but we do get that character underwork, and that's the thing. Hack Slash has a ton of humor, a ton of creativity with all the different kinds of slashers they hunt, but also a good amount of character work. You really get to care for and understand Cassie and Vlad, and they're really strong leads to follow as they go through all these adventures. If you guys like slashers, this is the slasher comic, and it's some really cool stuff. Now, what is an Omnibus 1? Well, originally Hack Slash was under this production company called Devil's Due, who did a lot of horror stuff back in the day. And before Hack Slash got an ongoing series, they put it out as a series of one-shots, and that's what's collected in here. Omnibus 2 would be the original ongoing series, but here we get a collection of one-shots and like a 3-issue miniseries. So essentially all the pre-series stuff is collected here in one volume, and I really do like that. There are other ways to read this, like there was a bunch of trades and stuff, but I think the omnibuses are the best way. It's just really big, there's a lot to read in here, it's more complete, and it's pretty darn thick. Now, I will say there are hardcover versions of these which feature some really cool retro art, and I've been thinking about upgrading because I've had this for forever. The hardcover versions are pretty much one-to-one where it's the same thing that's in the paperback, but there is a little bonus story in the back of each of the hardcover ones. Nothing essential, but a fun little extra. But in the first omnibus here, we're actually going to get, I believe, 8 stories. So because it was originally one-shots, these are more episodic in nature, but there's no bad one in the bunch, and it's a good little variety there. But also, one of the cool things with Hack Slash is they would do a ton of crossovers, both with other comics, but also with horror movies as well, and Omnibus 1 is a good example of that. On the comic side, we'll be crossing over with Evil Ernie from the Chaos Comics universe, and that's a really fun story. But the finale for this book, Hack Slash is going to meet Chucky from the Child's Play franchise. That's really fun, that's really cool, and it does serve as this really cool big finale. I absolutely love it. So anyway, if you guys want to see this book in a little more detail, I'm going to switch over to the close-up camera. I'll show you guys some of the story, some of the art, and we'll take a look at the physical release here. And if you guys want to dig deeper, let's go ahead and switch to the close-up camera. Alright, here we are inside the castle, taking a closer look at Hack Slash Omnibus 1. Right off the bat, I really do love the cover, and they actually kept these consistent through all 6 covers, of taking one of the previous cover images, cutting out the foreground, and putting this repeated Hack Slash background on here. Really do love the red and white. Omnibus 1 at the bottom. Cool picture of Cassie, Hack/Omnibus Volume 1. The spine has a picture of her, big nice block letters, number 1 there, and we can see where I've managed to crack the spine because I've had this comic for a long time. We get the back with another image of her, and I believe this formula with the stripe here would stay consistent as well, and we get she survived Halloween, Friday the 13th, and summer camp. Now the slasher victim slashes back. Some quotes, a bit of a summary, what's inside here, the image logo, and we get the original price was $29.99, rated M for mature horror action. Cracking the book open, the inside of the covers being Cassie's doodles is pretty cool, and then we get the blood stain and the title page. After that, we get the writer is Tim Seeley, and the additional credits are here for all the stories they're on. I'll go through them here, and we can see that this has a bunch of stuff. I will say that from here all the way to here, that's trailers. And this part right here, Chucky, obviously is not part of trailers. Trailers is an anthology of a bunch of potential hack/slash stories, and it actually goes between Land of Lost Toys and Slice Hard. Anyway, after that, let's take a quick look at each of the stories. I'm going to try to go through these really quick because there is a whole lot of them, but I will say at the end of the video, I'll put a playlist up, and you should be able to find my full reviews for each of these stories in there if you want a bit of a longer look. Anyway, the very first story is called Hack/Euthanized. That's where we first get the appearances of all these characters. And we get a fun opening here with Cassie as a cheerleader talking to a coach, and we get to see Vlad there kind of in the distance, and we think, oh, maybe this guy's a killer. But surprise, surprise, it's actually the coach that's the killer, and Cassie, of course, was just acting as bait, and Vlad's there to take him out. We then get this nice sepia origin story of Cassie Hack talking about how her mother was getting revenge on all the bullies by killing them and putting them in the lunch. Yeah, the lunch lady is a pretty morbid story. But after that, we get into what Euthanized is about, and we get this veterinarian character who has the ability to control zombie animals as well. We get a really cool, tragic origin story behind this, but it really does a good job of setting up Cassie and Vlad as this sort of, X-Files supernatural type deal, where they go from town to town, unraveling the mysteries, and facing off against a bunch of new and different slashers and all these different stories. It's a really good establishment episode. After that, we get Girls Gone Dead, and we get to see Cassie and Vlad are going to spring break. We get a slasher character there, which is literally going to be beating one of the spring breakers with a golden cross, and we get to see that it's going to sort of parody both sides. The spring breakers are going to be your standard fraternity idiots, and then we have the slasher coming in and killing them all, and Cassie and Vlad are going to be investigating, and they're going to be kind of the outside perspective on this. I don't want to say too much about the rest of the story, but this slasher is actually being controlled by someone with a magic spell book, which I do think is an interesting turn on its head, a controlled slasher. Then we're going to get comic book Carnage. In this one, Cassie and Vlad are going to a comic convention. We get a bunch of cameos from Steve Niles, Scotty Young, there's Robert Kirkman of The Walking Dead, and this strange little figure here is going to be killing a bunch of them because apparently they messed with one of their favorite comics or something. It's not my favorite story, but it's still a fun enough one, and the slasher, when you see who it is, it's a really interesting and creative idea. Plus, one of my favorite panels of Cassie and Vlad in their hotel room eating burgers that Vlad found in the trash. A good bit of character moment. After that, the first crossover, Hack/Slash versus Evil Ernie. And right off the bat, some really good brushstrokey artwork here. But you get Ernie in this reality, and he's killed and resurrected a stripper as his zombie. And the button's going to tell Ernie's origin story and how he started killing people for Lady Death, but after he died, he woke up in this different reality, and there isn't a version of him here or a version of Lady Death. However, Ernie will eventually meet Cassie, and start to fall in love with her, wanting her to be his replacement for Lady Death, and the two start to kind of see the parallels in their lives. After that, we get the Land of Lost Toys 3-issue miniseries. Yeah, they were all single-issue one-shots up until now, and here we get 3. And we find with this that there's a kid dreaming about legally distinct My Little Ponies, but they decide to turn evil and kill her. And we find out we're dealing with a kid who didn't like to share any of his toys, and after he died would haunt other kids' dreams and try to get their toys. And yeah, we're dealing with a dream-based slasher with an interesting backstory, but we also get these 2 kids in their basement, and that would be kind of the point of view characters. They're the ones who contact Cassie, and actually we would see the return of a character from a previous story in this, and some people from this story will become reoccurring elements later, but I don't want to say too much on that. But I will say fun toy-based dream world antics, and actually a expansion on Vlad's origin story in this as well. Really good to see them taking advantage of the 3 issues. After that, we get Trailers, and Trailers is a really fun, interesting anthology comic. Basically, in Trailers, we get to see a bunch of stuff that might happen in the Hack/Slash series. So here's one inspired by anime. Here's one where they go to space, kind of referencing Jason X there. And we also get Tub Club, which would actually, when they got an ongoing series, would be made into a full story. So this is an actual trailer there. But some good, crazy, goofy ideas, and I really do like it. After that, we get Slice Hard, which is like a big Hack/Slash event. Cassie and Vlad are taken to this laboratory where a company has captured a bunch of slashers in order to study them and figure out how they've beaten death. Now, of course, collecting a whole bunch of slashers and putting them all in one location, that's not a good idea. The slashers are, of course, going to break out, and they're going to have to fight their way out of this tower. It's called Slice Hard because it's like Die Hard, but with slashers. A really cool team-up book and a really cool big story. But after all that, we round things out with Hack/Slash versus Chucky. And in this story, a woman uses voodoo to swap bodies with Vlad. They have to get his body back, and of course the only person that can help is Chucky. The woman who switched bodies with Vlad actually stole his voodoo amulet, so the two have a common goal despite him being a slasher himself. It looks like Cassie and Chucky are going to form a very uneasy alliance, and then once their mutual problems are solved, they both agree they're going to try to kill each other. We get some good puns, and I do love that the two actually knew of each other before they actually met, and Chucky's like, "You killed some good friends of mine." Yeah, this is a really fun, crazy, and over-the-top issue. Great way to round things out. But if we flip to the back of the book, there's also a ton of bonus features. Here is a cover gallery. We also will get a pinup gallery. We'll get a sketchbook. We'll get this bit on Sandra Kramer, who inspired the look of Cassie Hack. We'll get a bit about the Hack/Slash stage play, Stage Fright. And we'll get a bunch of psycho profiles, which is a little biography for each of the slashers. I will say with these that some of them, like the slashers from Slice Hard, where we don't get to know their origin story, it's really cool to see him there. But then we also get things like 6-6, who, actually, he's not in this volume. He's in volume 2, so we did get him a little bit early. And then at the back, we do have an ad for My First Maniac, which wasn't collected in these omnibuses, and 2 more omnibuses. They would go all the way to 6. Overall, Hack/Slash Volume 1 has a ton of cool stuff in it. The one-shot formula was a great way to get some cool, stand-on-their-own episodic stories, and there's a bunch of crazy and different ideas in here. Overall, this is a book that I absolutely love, and I'm currently in the middle of Omnibus 2 right now, and I'll definitely get to that pretty soon. Hack/Slash is one of the best horror series of all time, and if you're a fan of slashers, definitely check this out. Can't wait to get to more, and I definitely recommend this one. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should actually be my Hack/Omnibus 1 playlist, which has individual story reviews for every single story in this book. So if you guys want a bigger, more in-depth look at any of these stories, definitely check out the Omnibus 1 playlist. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.